Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Positive Peeps, conversations about giving, creating, and thus how it heals. Our next guest is Lee Asher of the Asher House. You may know him already. He's one of the leading animal rescue proponents on social media, and he was a corporate trainer for years. He worked for Tony Robbins actually for a little while, and then branched out on his own. And one day he realized, I'll let him speak to this, that it wasn't right for him. He quit his job, got a camper, started traveling around with a few of his rescue dogs, and just kept rescuing them and raising awareness for rescue dogs all around the country. He's got 9 rescue dogs that he travels around with. And welcome Lee Asher of the Asher House. Lee!
Hey, brother. How you doing, man?
I am geeking out, man. I feel like I know you. I've been watching your videos. You know, the Dodo is my favorite social media site. I watch 2 or 3 a day, and you've got your own YouTube series and Instagram series on the Dodo called The Rough Life, which is like daily dose for me of joy and emotion.
Thank you.
And then I realized I kept seeing the Asher House, so I started following the Asher House. I would tell people about it. Oh, the Asher House is the best. Everybody loves talking to you. You've been on Ellen. You've been everywhere. You're an in-demand guy, and I don't know how you do it all with all your social media and keep it going, and you do it with constant positivity and light. So thank you for being here.
It's my sincere pleasure, man. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm a legit. I need to catch up on it. Full disclosure, I do need to catch up, but at one point, I was addicted to the Blacklist, so I'm so excited to catch up on that as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so
yeah,
great.
Man. First 2 seasons, I was all in. And then living on the road and traveling, it's really hard to keep up with your favorite shows.
Speaking of which, how do you watch TV? Do you have time to watch shows?
I don't ever watch like just regular television. You know, a lot of the times, unfortunately, if I'm traveling, I don't have service or Wi-Fi, which is quite often all the best spots. The camping spots don't have those, but I save a bunch of shows and I read a lot. And like you said, it's hard to find time having so many dogs. I have a lot to watch.
You know, you live in your camper with, or your bus. What do you call it?
Yes, about 6 to 8 months out of the year, I'm in my school bus that I converted into a home.
And then where do you live the other few months of the year?
I spend a lot of time in Tahoe, in South Lake Tahoe. I feel the most comfortable and the most at home when I'm in the middle of nowhere, you know, at a campsite with my dogs where the bus door is open and we can all just be free. When I'm home, I have neighbors and I have to be careful and things like that. So I really come home just to receive packages and catch up on all the things that I need to catch up on and do what I need to do on what I can't do when I'm on the road, you know. But man, there's nothing like just being in the middle of a forest, or, you know, right by a waterfall with all of these dogs that were at one point just in cages. To me, it's the most beautiful thing. It's when I'm at most peace and relaxed.
Often I look at your life and said, you know, I don't really believe in envy. I love my life, but I was like, that is an alternate life that I would love to live. I don't think I could do it. I'm not into camping, but God, I would love to be in nature all this time.
Just from the little bit I know of you, I promise you could do it and you would love it and you'd be addicted to it. I have no doubt.
I'd love to know when you got your first dog. I don't know if it was growing up and you were a corporate trainer and and what was the impetus to quit that, get the bus you created and start going traveling with dogs?
Growing up, like a lot of people, I always felt very different, very much the outcast. I grew up with severe, I was told that I had severe learning disabilities. I could never be in the same classes with my friends. You know, in school, it was so hard to focus on anything. A lot of bullying, never felt like I belonged. I believe, from my experience, getting bullied, it really builds compassion. You know, you want others to feel safe. You don't want others to go through it. So it really is a beautiful thing. If you look at any comic, any superhero, we all encountered it. You know, it's really such a gift. But yeah, eventually I just so badly didn't want to be in school. I so badly couldn't take it anymore that I started to, during recess, during those times and any sort of breaks is when I would get bullied the most, including lunch. So one day I ran off, and it was about a mile from the school. I found an animal shelter. And I went inside and they said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Oh, my parents are in the parking lot. I'm just going to go in and look." They said, "Please go." And I started like, it was my first time ever seeing animals in cages. I was so confused. I remember thinking that maybe they were all sick. So at first I was like, are they sick? And a volunteer said, no, not at all. They were, I mean, looking at their face, I just fell in love with each dog, just like how I do now. But eventually I started going there every day, recess and lunch, every day. I was going to the animal shelter. I was playing with the dogs, and I would start telling them, like, you're going to get, I finally learned what rescue, what animal rescue was. I couldn't believe like the stories I was hearing. I was like, what's wrong? My first thought of, like most people who haven't been to a shelter, what's wrong with this dog? I mean, nothing's wrong with them. It's just almost bad luck, if you will. And I really found a way to relate to them. I really found like this piece of me that just for some reason I felt happiest and most comfortable just sitting by a cage, giving the dog my lunch and all these different things. So that went on for quite a while. And eventually I would have hives all over me. I had hives everywhere. And that's how I got caught. They found out I was running to the shelter because I was allergic to dogs.
You are allergic to dogs?
Yeah.
And you live with 9 dogs.
Well, that's the thing about tenacity. I didn't stop going to the shelter. I just kept getting hives. And one day I didn't break out in a rash, and I got over it. I never gave up.
I do believe there is sort of a huge mental aspect to healing and so forth. There is something
100%.
not logical or medical. I mean, logical, but not medical about that. But before we continue, I really want to introduce you to someone who's here with me. You may not realize this is my rescue, Raina.
Oh my goodness.
Raina, that is Lee Asher.
What a beautiful puppy.
Raina, that's Lee Asher. Say hi.
Oh, so cute. My goodness.
She was from a rescue litter. 2 rescues got together, had a litter. So there was all these rescues. So I was sort of fortunate enough to get the experience. I'm so
glad you're mentioning that, man, because I can't tell you how many people tell me they would have rescued, but they wanted a puppy. And I'm like, I cannot tell you how many puppies are out there for rescue. I mean, it's just amazing.
Oh, she knows we're talking about something sensitive. She's looking at me. She's looking at me. She's looking up. So I also feel like people, you're so great at, giving senior dogs a life and so forth. Like people should, I always say when they don't know if they should, I said, foster, give it a try.
Why
You're
not?
Helping out the shelter. It's such a simple thing to do. If it doesn't work for you, you can give the dog back to the shelter. You're just helping out. And of course the goal is you want to eventually fully adopt the dog you fall in love with.
I mean, the way you're simplifying it is literally that simple. It's unfortunate, it sounds too good to be true, but it's really like you get a chance to figure it out. You get a chance to see if you're ready for a dog. You get a chance to truly give back. Even, they have these, it basically, Best Friends Animal Society invented it, and it's a sleepover. And it's one night. And you wouldn't believe taking a dog from a shelter just one night and giving it a home. It does so much, and the reason is because so many dogs at the shelter are obviously extremely afraid, and they're shivering, or they might be barking, which is not a sign of aggression, it's a sign of fear. And by taking this dog just for a night, a sleepover, one night, by taking this dog and making it feel comfortable, it goes back to the shelter as if it went on vacation, just like a human does. And they're calm now, they're refreshed, they're relaxed. There's been studies that the chances of that dog getting adopted goes up 30–40%, because for at least a week, they're no longer barking like crazy or shivering in the corner. So fostering is amazing. Even just doing a sleepover is amazing. And like you said, if you're not sure if you're ready, or if you don't know if you want to adopt or anything, just try it out.
I know you, even with your big pack, you also foster to help out. You foster with the pack, and then I've seen you get caught, and then you end up adopting them. There's no room for more, and you take on one more.
It's just, for me, as the pack grows, I just get so attached to the emotion that I get from seeing the dog, interact with my pack. It's not just with me. They feel part of this family. To have a human family is beautiful, but now they have this big dog family and a human family, and they have the big dogs to protect them and the little dogs to play with, or vice versa.
Well, speaking of which, I think this is a perfect transition. I've been following them. I would love to meet Tony, Lily, Bo, Molly, Callie, Queen, Penny, Butters and don't tell me, Sammy.
Sammy, and then we got a couple more. There's Pom Poms and Kai. We got a Pomeranian, and Kai is a Jack Russell Chihuahua. But they're behind me sleeping, so I could just move over and I can call them over here. So let's see.
Should we not wake them up, or all 11 are sleeping?
Oh yeah, 12. Come on, guys.
Oh my God!
Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Come on. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? Tony, come on, Tony. Tony's really sleeping. Tony, come on, bud. What are you doing? This is one of the ones. Hi.
Look at the pack. Raina, look at the pack. Look at the pack. Oh my God, you're looking at your sister, your twin. You guys, for those watching, this is very special. These are all world famous dogs. They have managers. They're saving us.
Yeah, and you'll look at this one, just got a lion haircut. Look at this.
Is that going to be Butters?
No, this is Pom Poms, the Pomeranian. She's 16 years old.
Oh yeah. I saw your post yesterday about Pom Pom. So the Pom Poms with holding her to your face. And
yeah, she's amazing.
So you had that experience when you were little. And
and so that means, immediately at a very young age, I'm a huge believer in manifesting. Like from a young age, I kind of learned about it, and I was very, very passionate about the law of attraction, manifesting, do good will come back to you.
What age? How did that come to you? At what age did the concept of manifesting and believing in it exist in you?
I just, at a young age, I've always been, even at I think it really started around 11 or 12, where I just got a lot of joy out of making people smile, making people laugh. And I felt like if I am feeling this joy from doing something good and not bad, it was almost logical to do good in this world and you will feel good. It was very logical for me.
This is the whole reason I started this series, was that people, when you give or help, of course you're helping others, but the number one benefactor is...
Why is it that when you give a gift to someone that needs it, it feels so much better than receiving any gift whatsoever? That's whether you believe in God or universal energy. There's something so powerful about that if you ignore it, that means you don't actually believe in manifesting. That's the difference.
The excitement when you start figuring out if they're going to like it, and then you surprise them, and then you see their expression when they open it, there's nothing better.
It's a simple, I don't know, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a situation where I didn't even give a physical gift. I'll be at a pharmacy, I let the woman in front and behind me, or the older man just go in front of me, and I smile. I say, I hope you have a beautiful day. The little gifts, if you have an intention to give a gift every single day, and it doesn't have to be physical, it's going to be very hard for you to be depressed or sad. When you begin each day with an intention to serve, and I'm not talking about serve like I'm trying to be religious or be a motivational speaker. It's one little ounce of service. One little ounce of service is all you need to really be fulfilled for that day. Why not do it? It's unfortunate, especially these times, the 2020 train of how bad of a year it is. The worse of the year, the more important it is for you to step up and be the best person that you can be.
I got to tell you, Lee, everything you said is literally the philosophy I've begun to live by. With that news cycle and Corona and elections, I was like, you are alive. If you are breathing, you are alive. There is an opportunity. And if you can't donate, or you can just open the door for somebody. You can just open the door for somebody. Smile.
It's just, I think that if my rule is, if I'm going to leave the house, somebody's going to smile.
Well, here, let me get into something a little harder. There are the hard days. When you have those days and you really just don't even feel like you have the energy to smile, how do you get the energy when you have those tough days?
Parent yourself. When you start going down that train, say, what are you talking about? This is bullshit. You're just having a bad moment. You're not having a bad day. There's no such thing as a bad day, brother. People have bad moments, and they're so extreme that they turn that into a bad day. There is no one, no matter who it is, whether it's the Dalai Lama or you or anyone who is where they want to be mentally, that hasn't had days where they thought about ending their entire life. I mean, we're all in this train. We're all in this universe together, just trying to survive.
There are no less than 20 things I could respond to that. I almost want to press rewind and then respond to 40 things. But this concept that we can save people is something that is a bit of a myth. But what we can do is we can go be with them. And if you can make, this is such a simple thing. It doesn't solve anything, but laughter literally physiologically helps your immune system. It is the best medicine. And two things happen to me.
If you're in the hospital, you should only be watching comedies.
But I want to say a couple things that happen to me that I always talk about. There's when people have the blues, and we're talking about, or victim mentality or so forth, and maybe they might be in a literal mental health place that they might need, medication or something. But even beyond that, there's a couple of basic things you can do. Taking a shower, going near a lake, stepping outside for a walk, and being near an animal are so simple and healing.
And if I can add to that, when you just have that intention when you basically take the energy, the responsibility of the world not being against you, but you just saying, I'm going to do this for it. No matter what the dog does, no matter how the dog is, I just want to make the dog happy. And imagine that's how we should be with each other. Dogs, it's so quick. If they feel negative, it's so quick. There's no time to take on that negative energy. But with people, we hold on to our story. Not only that, we hold on to something that happened 20 years ago. We still bring it up today. Your hardest days, your hardest moments, fuck, man, cherish them. Because your good days aren't going to mold you.
But I will say this. I got my first pilot when I was 31 or 32, and then it didn't go. And I'd spent my whole life trying to get it. And I just was so down. I didn't even know how to pick myself up. It was my dream. And then felt like I took 100 steps backward in my career. And my mom visited me. She goes, "What's happened to your lotus flower? You wilt. This is not you." And I said, "I don't even know how to get the energy to audition again. I just feel so." And she goes, with no empathy, she goes, "Go volunteer. Help someone really in need."
Right.
So I started to work with kids, 5th graders, writing their own screenplays. And then they write their own screenplays, and then professional actors act in them. And I never forget, I was driving home that day in LA, and I was like, I'm happy. Why am I happy? And then I was like, oh my God. And it was the simplest thing. And that was a turning point in my life. And I really wanted to dedicate a big portion of my life for healing myself, to giving, and then it rose to something else.
When it's almost too easy, too simple. We make life very complicated, and it is. But if you're just living every day solely for your own benefit, I just think it's a recipe for unhappiness. I really do. No matter who you are, no matter if you haven't gone through any trauma, you still will eventually experience loss. You will experience failure. And that's really what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that you have to be locked in the dungeon for 5 years to be a good actor, or to do what I do. I'm not saying that you have to truly go through the trenches. But I think experiencing failure, experiencing loss, experiencing that feeling of, am I not enough? Right? I think that is what really shapes us. And today, with what I do, it's just, I don't think about what I went through. I don't think I went through more or less than anyone else, but I really have learned through this, because I used to very much want to be successful as well. My parents always thought about money and all these different things. So I felt like if I had a lot of money, so I always said to myself, one day I want to work for Tony Robbins. And eventually I did. It was a dream come true. But I became one of those people where I was like, no, that's weird. I thought if I worked for him, I was going to feel like I'd made it. I thought I was going to feel successful. And I didn't. I always felt like I wasn't living up to my full potential. And when I really reevaluated my goals and said, what do I love? Animals. What else do I love? Inspiring people, making people laugh, making people happy. What else do I love? I love adventure. I love traveling. What else do you love? And I kept going, what else do you love? So I put all that on a list, and I said, combine it. Why don't you combine it? And I said, you can't. This doesn't exist. So then I said, so that means you'll be the first one to do it. And that's how I created the Asher House.
I hope everybody just heard that. I hope everyone just heard that. I want to go back to after you had the cages, back to your story. You saw that. When did you get your first dog? And when you started Asher House, did you conceive it? You would be traveling with all these dogs, and how many did you start with? When did dogs enter your life personally that you took care of?
Pretty close to immediately, because I was allergic to dogs, my parents never let me have a dog. And then I was still going to the shelter. They realized there was nothing they could do to stop it. And one day, this is how I learned about hypoallergenic dogs. They had a Bichon at the shelter, a Bichon. And I said, what kind of dog? And they said, it doesn't shed, it doesn't do this, it's hypoallergenic. I said, what's that mean? They say, it's for people who are allergic to dogs can have this dog. And I went ape shit, and I said to my parents, I said, this dog, I'm not allergic, please let me have it, let me have him. And that was my first dog, and his name was Tarzan.
Tarzan?
Tarzan, yeah. I was always, as a child, even now, very big on Tarzan and Mowgli, all the jungle.
You're Tarzan. You run around the jungle with no shirt on with a pack of animals. Like, you're the guy. So you got Tarzan. When did you get a second dog? And did you have a dog with your trainer?
When my parents, when they got a divorce, and I got into a lot of fights in school. I was headed not necessarily in a bad direction, but I was very anti-people. I was very defensive. My parents were going through, so they eventually brought in they surprised me. A friend of theirs gave them like a 6-month-old, 8-month-old golden retriever, and she was my best friend. I brought her to college with me, and when I was in college, though, as soon as I got an apartment, I was fostering dogs. I fostered over 20 dogs in college. I don't think I really found true happiness until I started the Asher House, really. Because I was always doing something my entire life up until I was about 28. I was always doing something that I didn't feel like I was supposed to be doing, whether it was working. Say it again?
Yeah. Continue, but I was also, but how much is your human interaction, and do you crave it?
I find it to be a problem. It's something that I'm working on. I have the life coach who's also a relationship and business coach. She's amazing. Her name is Jillian. For me, I don't crave, like my friends, no one asks me to go out anymore because I really don't. They know I'm going to say no.
So is that why you work with the life coach? Why, if you feel like you found a little bit, is that the thing you want to work on in your life, your ability to connect and socialize with humans?
No, that's a great question. I work with a life coach because for me, I really want to be more compassionate and empathetic to the conversations that I have with people, understanding my biggest thing is I get triggered very easily. For me, if someone upsets me, it's very easy for me. I don't react, but I just cut them out of my life. I don't need any I don't need this person in my life anymore, and you're out. And it's a very bad habit that I do. So I'm working on not cutting people out, on understanding, communication.
It's a very, very honest, open thing to say. Thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of people deal with that.
I know a lot of people are like that, but it doesn't take a lot for me to just say, I don't want you here anymore, and that's very toxic. A big thing about having a coach is just like all the things that we're talking about, having that reminder every week, that accountability, not reminder, accountability is something that's so important for everyone. And, you talk to a coach, you talk to a friend and you say, I'm not feeling well. Your friend says, what's wrong? Right? That's the first thing a friend will say. What's wrong? Why aren't you feeling well? You tell a coach, I'm not feeling well. She's going to ask you, did you meditate yesterday? Did you go to the gym? Did you journal? You're like, fuck, I didn't.
I read a statistic, something like 2 million dogs a year get euthanized.
I've heard, from what I know, it's 1 million dogs a year in the USA alone.
I had a vision at some point, maybe we can do this in the future together, of eradicating that. And then I realized that the lobby for puppies and puppy mills is so powerful in Congress. And also at the same time, during COVID, with all the adoptions that went up, I have a few friends that got puppies from breeders. And I'm like, rescue. And they're like, we tried. We either got denied an application, we couldn't find one. It took us months and months until finally we got a puppy. And I'm like, how is that even possible with all the dogs in need?
You're making people, I understand. I really do. You're making someone wait 3 months 6 months for a dog. And then, sometimes they even take the risk of getting denied. They have to wait more. It's not fair. It needs to change.
I will say, okay, last thing, I don't want to take up your whole day. I just want to talk about, I just want to first of all send my deepest condolences. I watched your videos on Stella and Cece.
Yeah.
And I also watched your videos of how you cope with it and how you just remember all the good things. And you said something that really touched me. And I watched the video when you were talking about Stella and a butterfly landed on you.
Yeah.
And then when you talk about Stella again, the butterfly moved somewhere else.
That was Cece. That was Cece.
I'm sorry, that was Cece. A bird. You saw Stella on a bird. You felt that she was in some way reincarnated, or her spirit was.
I do. I see them all the time in different forms.
How did your pack deal with the loss of Stella and Cece?
I think they just sensed that they sensed that I was sad, and they knew they had to be there for Dad. They didn't act much different, except they were basically all very much like emotionally supportive, and they were very calm. You know, usually in the mornings they get frantic. They were very calm. As far as that, I think they did it more for me, which is one of the beautiful things about dogs. Like it's easier for them, I believe, to let go and move on. You know what I mean? So.
If you want to just say a couple words on, you know, you adopt seniors, you adopt dogs at all ages, rescue dogs at all ages, you know, knowing how hard it is and to put yourself through that. You know, dogs don't live human lifespans, you know, to put yourself through that over and over again. You know, how do you cope with that? How do you face that every time?
Again, see, it's such a good question, because it's like, by answering that, like, it's not about me. You know, I don't want to not do something just because I'm going to be sad. I don't want to do something just because I might get hurt. You know, if I could save 50 dogs, and that means I'm going to have my heart broken 50 times, I know that I saved 50 dogs. I mean, I was so devastated when Stella died, and truly, like, worse than any other dog I've ever lost.
In Stella's honor, something's happening in Stella's honor. Would you
why don't we
do that? Tell us what's happening.
When Stella passed away, I was really down. I needed to do something. I needed to move. I started looking for properties in a few different states: Oregon, Idaho, Montana. And last week, we closed on 24 acres on a property an hour outside of Portland in Estacada. And, it's going to be the Asher House Animal Sanctuary on 24 acres of land right on a river. It's the most beautiful place I've ever seen, and it's ours. Yeah.
So your pack is going to be able to run free on 24 acres.
People will be able to camp there. They'll be able to camp in my school bus and RV, and we're buying many more school buses for people to stay at. And that's where the volunteers will stay, and we'll have little cabins all over it. It's really going to be a Disneyland for dogs, and it's going to be a Disneyland for dog lovers. And we're not just going to have dogs. We're starting off with dogs, horses, goats, donkeys. We'll have chickens. We're going to have a huge, huge, beautiful sanctuary.
Lee, I feel like I met an aligned soul. You are just so special. I can't thank you enough. Is there anything you'd like to say? It's National Adopt a Dog Month. Anything you want to say to the people that watch and you can share this with anyone.
No, it's really just, it's not that difficult to be a good person. You know, if you're considering adopting, I just, and you're unsure of it or anything, just like you said, man, just try out fostering. You know, I know with social media, everyone wants the cutest puppy, but there's nothing cuter than saving a life.
Well, I don't think we can top that. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Everybody go ahead and the Asher House on YouTube.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook is big. Great. Yeah, all of it. All of it. Just look up the Asher House.
Can we say bye to the dogs?
Yeah, for sure.
I'll get Raina too to say bye. All right, this is Penny, right?
This is Penny.
Hi, Penny.
This is Toby. Sam.
Oh, hi, Sam. Sleep well.
Tony. Bo. Yeah, that's Callie right there. Molly, I think Molly likes to spend time in my room, so I think she's upstairs on my bed.
That's okay.
And there's Lily.
Oh, Lily. Well, I hope they rest well. Raina, say bye to Lee.
Hey guys, I appreciate it.